You know, the goalposts of Bible prophecy, it all centers on Jerusalem. It's all about Jerusalem, the city that God has chosen out of all of the cities to put His name on. Literally, His name is on Jerusalem. Now, this brings us to the aforementioned prophecy puzzle. And again, I'll just ask that you bear with me. I want to share with you what I believe is a possible scenario as it relates to the timing of how all of this might fit together. I've had this puzzle for many years. I've revised it, updated it, and want to revisit it today because I believe all of these prophecies are in play. I do need to preface this by, and please hear me when I say this, I don't want to come off as, having it all figured out. Well, I got this all figured out. Nobody does. I only want to present this as a plausible scenario and explain to you as clearly and simply as I can how I get there. So, before we jump into this, I want to give you a brief summary of what these prophecies foretell, especially for those of you that are new to Bible prophecy. This could be sort of a Bible prophecy 101. Are there other prophecies? Yes, but these are the main ones that, again, today I believe are in play. Let's start with 1 Thessalonians 5:3. We're going to get to that soon in our study through 1 Thessalonians. The Apostle Paul says that while they are saying peace and security, sudden destruction comes upon them as a woman travailing in labor, and they will not escape. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Isaiah 17, particularly verse 1, is a prophecy that foretells the sudden destruction of Damascus, Syria, so much so it will become a ruinous heap and the city will be uninhabitable. Zechariah 12, very interesting prophecy where God says He Himself will make Jerusalem a burdensome cup, an intoxicating cup, the obsession of the entire world. They will be intoxicated with and obsessed by Jerusalem, and particularly the immovable, burdensome boundary stone as they seek to cut it up and divide it. And God declares, if you try to cut it up, I will cut you up into pieces. That's my city. So it's a prophecy concerning Jerusalem, specifically the dividing of Jerusalem. Ezekiel 38, we've been talking about this quite a bit, especially the last year. It is, briefly, here's a summary. It is a prophecy about an alliance of nations with Russia, Iran, and Turkey at the helm that invade Israel for the purpose of taking the prosperity that Israel has. Daniel 9:27, another very interesting and even detailed prophecy about how the Antichrist will make a 7-year covenant, confirm a covenant for 7 years, and at the midpoint of that 7 years, he will demand to be worshipped as God in the temple, committing an abomination that causes desolation. I don't want to get too far into that, but it is a prophecy about the 7-year peace covenant. And then Revelation 13, briefly a summary of the Antichrist effectively controlling the entire world, a one-world government, a one-world religion, and a one-world economy, particularly a one-world economy. So, I put these puzzle pieces in this order, this way, and by way of an illustration, I suppose you could liken it to the proverbial domino effect, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So when you knock over one domino, it then has this chain reaction of knocking down all the other ones. So now the question is, what's the first domino? And I truly believe the first domino is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. That at a time when people, while they are saying those two words specifically, peace and security, at that time, sudden destruction will come upon them as a woman travailing in labor, and they will not escape. This is why I'm putting the next puzzle piece of Isaiah 17 concerning what I believe will be the sudden destruction of Damascus, Syria. There's every indication from this prophecy in Isaiah that it happens very quickly. It's also why I'm putting the Zechariah 12 prophecy puzzle piece concerning Jerusalem in place by virtue of the enemies of Israel who are, as we speak, seeking to, quote unquote, liberate, divide Jerusalem. And it's also why I have the Ezekiel 38 piece in place, because I see the other prophecies as the catalyst for Russia, Iran, Turkey, et al., all to invade for the purpose, as we're told in verse 13 of Ezekiel 38, of taking a spoil, a booty, gold, oil, natural gas, all of the above. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because it's very possible, and we talked about this last week, that on the heels of God defeating this allied invasion, the Antichrist will come on the scene and make this peace agreement and fulfill Daniel 9:27. And this because the 7-year peace agreement is what starts the 7-year tribulation, a.k.a. the 70th week of Daniel, a.k.a. the time of Jacob's trouble, Israel's trouble. And one real quick side note here that is very important. This word for confirm in Daniel 9:27, he will confirm a covenant. It's a very interesting word in the original language of the Hebrew, which happens to be the same original word in my native tongue of Arabic. It's the word higbir. And it means superior or greater. You know, in Islam, they say Allahu Akbar. It's not Allah, who, by the way, is not the same as Jehovah. Allah is the name of their God. Allah is a false god, Muhammad a false prophet. Whenever they declare and pray Allahu Akbar in Arabic, they are saying Allah is greater, not great, greater, even greatest. And this Akbar comes from the same word as Hikbar, greater, superior, an achievement to make superior, to make greater. That's what the Antichrist is going to do when he makes this, confirms Hikbar, this peace covenant. Okay. Now, here's the question. Where does the rapture fit into this puzzle? I'm glad you asked. You're asking that question, right? I know, because I can read your minds. Just a minute. Here it comes. Where does the rapture fit into this scenario? What if I told you that it could be in concert with, simultaneously with, said sudden destruction? Let me explain how I get there. I am becoming increasingly convinced that when sudden destruction comes down, we go up. The Antichrist cannot be revealed until the church is removed. And God cannot finish his plan for the Jewish people until the church is removed. That's why it's called the time of Jacob's trouble, the time of Israel's trouble. It's that 70th week of Daniel where God now shifts his attention upon his people, the Jewish people, and Israel. And the purpose of that 7-year tribulation is for the salvation of the Jewish nation. In other words, the rapture has to happen before all of this can happen. You see where I'm going, right? If it's all beginning to happen, then we need to be looking up. I was thinking about this today earlier, that when things are good down here, we don't really think about the rapture as much and going to be with the Lord. Because things are good right now. But boy, when things aren't going good down here, doesn't it make you want to go up there to be with the Lord? You think maybe that's what the Lord wants to do with us, especially those of us here in America? Is He's loosening our grip on this world and the things of this world to ready us for the next? I mean, listen, as I look at this, and I've been studying this for many, many years, and I see all of these things that are beginning to happen, and I have to come to the conclusion that this is it, because I can't imagine a scenario where all of a sudden it's going to just kind of calm down. I think it's going to speed up. And this is really the answer to the question of why does it seem like it's just moving so fast? It kind of has to, doesn't it? I mean, wouldn't just the word sudden alone, you know what the word sudden means? Sudden. I know, again, very deeply profound, but it's going to happen suddenly. Jesus said, "Behold, I come quickly." It all has to happen very quickly, which is why every week we do these prophecy updates and end with the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of salvation in the person of Jesus Christ. And we also end with the childlike, simple ABCs of salvation.